There we go. We are live. Welcome to Abnormal Alabama with your host tonight, my haunted dolls, Kevin Kane and Catherine Marie over there. And you'll notice there's a key member missing, Kelsey, who's unable to be on tonight. He's caught working on the road, so
I didn't murder him.
no, nobody murdered him. He's out there. He's just
He'll be
driving.
joining us soon.
Yeah, hopefully he'll be on. He's driving home from doing some work today, I guess.
Yes. So, about time he did some kind of work. He's going to go back and listen to this and he's going to be yelling at me. I do work all the time.
He said the same thing to me earlier today when he called. And, what have you been up to? You've been quiet. I said, I'm working. You got a job?
Well, are you still working from home?
Yeah.
You lucky dog. What are you going to do when now this is over and you have to go back?
It's going to be a big transition.
I would not be able to transition back because, at least if you work from home and you're not in front of the camera, you can at least sit around in your underwear, t-shirt, sweatpants, whatever. It would drive me crazy to have to go back after this long because it's been over a year, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's almost it's been right at a year. I think a year ago this week is when we went home or started working from home, and I was still at the other house. So it's going to be a huge transition having to go back and work again in the office.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they'll let you just stay at home. Are you being as productive?
Yeah, I mean, the system they've got set up now, we've got a new system. We can fax and overnight and stuff from home. As far as overnighting payments to attorneys, we can do it from home without having to pay for a stamp or whatever. And it's printed out and shipped at work. So yeah, at this point, we could have stayed working from home, and they keep hiring a ton of people, and they're not going to have enough parking. So that would save building more parking spaces.
Well, I'm sitting here thinking it saves more money on electricity.
It does.
You're not having to run the air conditioner or the heater like you were. And, just building space, just let people work from their own home.
Yeah, might as well. Yeah, it's saving on utilities at that big old building.
I can't remember which company you work for, and you don't have to say but
I work for an auto insurance company investigating claims. I can say that much anyway.
Yeah, you don't have to say what it is, but I remember what you do, but I couldn't remember where you worked.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it saves money and a lot of money for you too, because you don't have to have all the clothes, the gas going back and forth. It's saving a lot of money on your side.
Yes, it pretty much does.
I mean, think how much gas you have, how much money you've put back for gas to drive from where you live to Birmingham every day.
Absolutely.
You should have opened up a new savings account and put that money in the bank every week.
I could, yeah, I could.
I'm being a smart aleck. All right, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I've got some stories ready to share here. Looks like we got some people tuned in.
Hello, folks.
Hello out there. If you read the description out there, we're talking about werewolves tonight. Werewolves and lycanthropy. Now, there's my favorite Hollywood werewolf right there. That's the very first monster movie I ever saw when I probably was 6 years old when my dad, or 5, when my dad watched that with me. That was the Frankenstein meets the Wolf Man. And Lon Chaney.
My first one was Godzilla. And then my next one was this movie called Pumpkinhead,
Oh, I
and
remember that.
I had nightmares about Pumpkinhead for a long time.
Well, I think, yeah, my parents started me out easy. I've only just a few times in my life have I had nightmares or gotten scared at night. But this, is like watching a man with a dog mask on, and you didn't see
That's
people getting killed in those movies either. So
that's true.
it
Yeah.
was very, very fun to watch.
Now, back when I was watched Pumpkinhead, I was staying in Mississippi with my aunt and uncle for like a week for the summer or something. And back then we didn't have such big, huge TVs. They were maybe 20, 30 inches, maybe.
Yeah.
But they had one of these huge, huge projection type TVs. We're talking 80s now, okay?
Yeah.
Early 80s, okay?
Early
And
80s.
it's one of the first ones that came out. I don't remember exactly what year it was or how old I was. I'd have to look and see when that movie came out. And we watched it more than one time because my uncle, I don't know what his deal it was with watching that movie, but it was on and we watched it with him. And let me tell you, I was scared to death. But it was
All
a
right.
huge, like you were right there at that
Yeah.
scene. Ah!
The first movie that scared me was Psycho 2 back in the 80s. We watched that on TV. Now I watch it. I don't know what the heck scared me about it, but something about Norman Bates in that creepy house and some crazy mother hidden in the shadows kind of freaked me out. But all right, I digress. Werewolves, lycanthropy.
All right, I'm gonna black me out
Okay.
and I'll come back when you're done.
Okay. All right, lycanthropy. And what is the definition of that? I can just give you a basic general definition. Basically, lycanthropy is the belief or one's belief that he or she can become a werewolf or turn into a wolf, walk on all fours, bark, growl. And there are people throughout history, which we'll be looking at some of those tonight, or I'm going to be telling about some of those, who have believed they were werewolves, and others have believed they are werewolves. The werewolf legend goes way back. We're talking way back in the early, 1500s, maybe even further back. And I'm pretty sure it originated in Europe before anybody came over here to probably before 1492, before anybody came over here from Europe. Those werewolf stories were already going on out there in Europe. I can read a little bit here. It says it's unclear exactly when and where the werewolf legend originated. Some scholars believe the werewolf made its debut in the Epic of Gilgamesh, the oldest known Western prose ever written, when Gilgamesh jilted a potential lover because she had turned her previous mate into a wolf. That's believed to be the earliest account of any kind of werewolf, which that was a fictional story. And werewolves also emerged in early Nordic folklore. But the Epic of Gilgamesh is from around 2100 BC. So that's actually before Christ. So I was wrong when I said maybe 1500s, 14. This is way back 2100 BC. We're talking biblical days here. But the werewolf as we know it first appeared in ancient Greece and Rome in ethnographic, poetic, and philosophical texts. But I won't bore you with historic details. I want to get right into these legends, these people throughout history who were known to be werewolves, believe it or not. Catherine and I were saying a minute ago, werewolves of stories and legends have kind of died down drastically here in present day. You do still have current legends like the Beast of Bray Road, which I'll touch on later in the show. And we have some people believe Bigfoot is a werewolf. Of course, there's no way to confirm that unless we could catch one turning back into a man and running off naked through the woods. That would be cool to catch video of Bigfoot strolling through there, and all of a sudden he transforms into a little skinny man and runs off.
Maybe that's why we don't see Bigfoot. Maybe he is a shapeshifter.
He could be. And there's shapeshifter legends in Indian lore. They use that term, shapeshifter. What's the other term I'm looking for? Skinwalker.
A skinwalker?
In fact, I meant to bring my mask down off the wall. I got a skinwalker mask hanging on the wall here in my haunted collection that was believed to be used in some skinwalker rituals, but probably more modern day. Somebody, it doesn't look very old, that mask. It looks like it was in the last century when that was made. But let's get on to the first legend we have here, which, in fact, I'm going to talk about the one that I know the most, which was the Peter Stump. I think his name was Peter Stump. Have you ever heard that legend before? Peter Stump.
I might remember it as you're reading it, but I can't recall.
Yeah. It is. When I was a kid, and after I'd watched The Wolfman and got interested in werewolves, that was when I checked out books at the library. That was the first story I ever saw was Peter Stump. And I'm going to throw up a picture here that's believed to be one of the old illustrations of him crawling around on all fours. There he is carrying off a baby, it looks like, in that illustration. Crawling there. Let me go ahead and read the story. It wasn't easy being a farmer in 16th century Germany. It was even harder when you were accused of being a werewolf who had made a pact with the devil. It was hard enough just to get anything to grow in a time before pest control and fertilizers. Then there was the constant threat of roving brigands who had no qualms about stealing your livestock and burning your crops. But for farmer Peter Stubb, life was even tougher. Stubb also had to deal with accusations of being a werewolf in cahoots with the devil, who murdered children and pregnant women. Stubb, or Stump, depending on the source, was a prosperous farmer who lived just outside Bedburg, a small city in Germany's Rhineland, which was then part of the rickety Holy Roman Empire. It was a time of upheaval, with Protestants fighting Catholics and a whole lot of power struggles by various minor princes and other such royal riffraff. The area where Stubb lived had most recently been devastated due to the Cologne War, also known as the Sewer War. The name is apparently derived from a battle in which Catholic forces stormed a castle through its primitive sewer system. It was at this time that townspeople began turning up dead. There were whisperings of a wolf-like creature roaming the countryside, killing both humans and livestock. The creature was described as greedy, strong, and mighty, with eyes great and large, which in the night sparkled like unto brands of fire, a mouth great and wide with the most sharp and cruel teeth, a huge body and mighty paws. People were soon traveling from town to town and only in large, heavily armed bands, and I can't blame them for that. Travelers would sometimes stumble on victims' remains in the fields, raising the level of terror even higher. When a child would go missing, the parents would immediately assume all was lost and that the wolf had taken another victim. Although every effort was made to try and kill the creature, it eluded capture for several years until 1589, when a group of men tracking the wolf with their hounds encircled it. When they moved in for the kill, the wolf was nowhere to be seen. They instead found Stubb. There seems to be some confusion as to whether they actually saw him transform back from being a wolf, or if he just happened to be traveling through the woods at this important moment. Either way, under the threat of torture, he confessed to the murders of 13 children, 2 pregnant women, and 1 man. But that was just the start of it. According to an anonymous pamphlet that circulated in London the next year, that was based on an earlier Dutch version and is the primary existing source of Stubb's tale, he told his captors that at age 12, he made a pact with the devil, with the Prince of Lies, getting his soul in exchange for numerous worldly pleasures. But this was not enough to satisfy Stubb, who was a wicked fiend pleased with the desire of wrong and destruction and inclined to blood and cruelty. So the devil gave him a magic belt that turned the farmer into a killing machine in the form of a wolf. Thusly attired, Stubb went on a spree, taking pleasure in the shedding of blood, eating unborn children, as well as killing and eating his own son, born out of an incestuous relationship with his daughter. He allegedly took a she-demon as a mistress, along with a good Christian woman he seduced, and generally committed murder and mayhem on a grand scale. He also apparently had a penchant for livestock. One would guess that as a prosperous farmer, he wasn't killing his own animals, and especially liked lambs and kids, baby goats in this case, as opposed to human children. Stubb, who loved his secret life as a werewolf, took great pleasure in walking through the streets of Bedburg, hailing the families and friends of his victims, none of them aware that the gentleman farmer was a homicidal maniac. During these sojourns, he would sometimes pick out his next victim, and by whatever means he could, would get them out into the fields, where he would ravish them and cruelly murder them, according to records. For Stubb's alleged crimes, he was ordered to have his body laid on a wheel and with a red-hot burning pincer in 10 several places to have the flesh pulled off from the bones. After that, his legs and arms to be broken with a wooden axe or hatchet afterward, to have his head struck from his body, then to have his carcass burned to ashes. Boy, did they tear him up. His unfortunate daughter, Bill Stubb, and his mistress, Catherine Trompin, were also put to the stake as accessories to the murders. Geography, religion, and politics worked against Stubb. He was living in an era of werewolf hysteria in both Germany and France that reached its zenith in the 1590s. In times of chaos, people have traditionally blamed things on the supernatural and usually look for the oddest and least well-connected person in town to use as a scapegoat. In Stubb's case, it's likely that his being a Protestant in an area that was at the time being held by Catholic forces may have made him a target. The Sewer War, which lasted from 1583 to 1588, began as a small-time conflict in Cologne over whether the Prince Elector of the city, who had just converted to Protestantism, could force the conversion of his subjects. Soon, Spanish troops and Italian mercenaries were brought in on the side of the Catholics, while monetary support from France and England poured in from the Protestants. This war was a warm-up for the much bigger and longer 30 Years' War, which lasted for 3 decades, and was both a religious and politically motivated conflagration involving several European countries that began as a fight between Catholics and Empire. With that in mind, it's worth exploring whether Stubb was actually a serial killer who believed himself to be a werewolf, For thousands of years straight, back to the epic poem of Gilgamesh that I mentioned earlier, humans have believed in lycanthropy, a fancy term for the act of becoming a werewolf. In the 1500s, there was a rash of trials for people accused of being werewolves, with most of the proceedings ending in the accused being put to death. But even at that time, among the educated, the idea of lycanthropy was beginning to be understood as psychologically based. 5 years before Stubb was put to death, the writer Reginald Scott, in his book Discovery of Witchcraft, argued lycanthropia is a disease and not a transformation. In Stubb's case, it's possible he was suffering from clinical lycanthropy, as we call it today. The diagnosis is thought to be a cultural manifestation of schizophrenia and associated with bouts of psychosis, hallucinations, disorganized speech, and grossly disorganized behavior. Ooh, so was Peter Stump just psychotic? Or was he really a shape-shifting werewolf that fed off his victims due to bloodlust of the wolf, and the curse that came over him because he decided to sell his soul to the devil? The truth behind Stubb's story, like countless others who suffered similar fates, remains lost to history. Throughout the ages, such individuals have been feared because of their tendencies to commit bestial acts and were themselves hunted and killed by the populace. Many of these people were paranoid schizophrenics, according to such authorities like Rostenstock and Vincent. Following Stubb's execution, the will on which the farmer suffered unspeakable pain was attached to a high pole and left on public display in Bedburg as a continual monument to all ensuing ages. An image of a wolf and a likeness of the farmer secured above. I wonder if that's still there today. That would be something neat to see. Oh, it looks like we have Dr. Kelsey Graham with us.
Hello, Kelsey.
Am I part of the crew here?
You are.
I guess you are now.
Right, I'm trying to get turned around, and I'm going to be on the road, but I'm down here in the big metropolis of Tuskegee, Alabama.
Tuskegee, Alabama.
A dead end. I just dropped somebody off that helped me out today, and trying to get turned around and figure out how to get out of here.
Well, be careful.
Interesting stories. All right. So here we are. Bingo and jalapeno.
Bingo and jalapeno.
So
Yeah,
what are we talking about?
I just got done telling the first werewolf story from the 1500s about Peter Stubb, who was a farmer and apparently murdered a dozen kids, a couple of pregnant women, and a man.
Yeah.
And feasted on their bodies and claimed to be a werewolf because he made a pact with the devil.
Oh boy.
And,
Okay, I got something to show you.
Okay. What's that?
It's hard to see on my camera because I can't get back far enough. But it's a pair of overalls that I'm working on now. And it's got, let's see. There we go. Bigfoot crossing.
Oh. Bigfoot.
Just curious while she's doing that. Can y'all hear me okay?
We
Yeah, I
can.
can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
We can't. You look tired.
I am very tired.
I bet you sleep good tonight.
I don't know. I don't know. Little dog missing. Who knows?
I guarantee you're going to find it in the bookshelf.
Nah,
I'll
well,
be
I don't
honest.
know. I don't even want to take
Oh,
it back.
gosh.
Oh, man.
Last time it went missing, isn't that where you found it?
Guess what?
What?
Got the fifth wheel moved.
I know. Thank you. Thank you.
Guess
Thank
what?
you.
All
What?
the hydraulics, everything works. So that's good news too.
Ah.
Awesome.
Just got to get that little valve, but everything will be fine.
Well, at least you were able to get it done, and it's out of our hair.
Well,
And
that
we can
part of
relax.
it is yes. Now, but yeah. So it's there where I can hook up electric, got water. I got it home so I can clean it up and all that stuff. I got to go to Lowe's and get some bleach and really clean the outside of it up.
He's
But
looking like he's lost some weight.
Kevin, this fifth wheel is about almost as big as your house.
It really is, Kevin. It's huge.
It's got a washer and dryer. It's loaded.
A fifth wheel.
Yeah.
Like
You know
a
what
mobile.
fifth wheel is, don't you?
Well, I thought I did, but is it like a mobile house or something? A mobile building?
It's a travel trailer.
Travel.
It's a big one, huge one,
Okay.
huge.
It's a camper with it's a camper that's the size of a 1-bedroom apartment with a laundry room.
It's bigger than some efficiency apartments for sure.
Yes. It's good size.
I didn't know they made them that big. I've seen some
Oh,
big
no,
RVs, but
They make them bigger than mine.
golly bum.
His is
You
only
have to see some of these things. That's amazing. They put your house to shame. You thought you were living in an estate. These things are plush.
So it's like a mansion on wheels.
I call it a mini mansion. Yeah.
I was impressed with the washer and dryer. I mean, you go camping and you got a washer and dryer. What kind of camping is that?
I've never seen a washer and dryer in a camper.
I go camping, I get a hammock.
Yeah, it's got 3 slides, so when you park it, you push a button and the slides go out and make it about twice as big as it normally would be.
Good grief.
I thought we were supposed to be talking about scary stuff, not fifth wheels.
Yeah, well.
Well, the fifth wheel's been kind of scary here lately.
Well, the day's really been good, but the last little bit of it got horrible. But I'm tired of crying, so I want to laugh.
Okay.
It's all good. It's all good. But tomorrow I've got a long day too. So, Kevin, keep telling your story. Thank you for telling your story.
We got to give a shout out real quick. Can I give a shout out real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Teresa.
Hey,
and
Teresa.
you can talk Southern. Teresa's a friend of mine. I believe she lives in I can't remember. She's up north, and she says she's going to be talking Southern tonight from listening to us.
Send her the code and tell her to come on in and tell some stories.
Yeah, you got any scary stories? I can't remember where she lives. It's driving me crazy. Illinois. She lives in Illinois.
Is that your TikTok pal?
Yeah, that's my TikTok pal.
All right. Yeah, tell her she's got to have some good ghost stories or vampire stories or something.
Especially if it's a werewolf, because that's our subject tonight.
Well, she was born in Oklahoma.
Talking about this, I sold another wishing machine today.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, I sent out 5 this morning.
Oh, she does have some ghost stories.
Give her the link. Invite her. Bring her on in. What's her name?
Her name is Teresa.
Okay, Teresa. I'm sorry I'm tired, so don't get upset with me. What's that bubble-headed guy's name next to you?
Bubblehead.
The handsome fellow that way or that way?
While we're waiting, I'm going to invite everybody to go to our GoFundMe page. We're trying to raise the money to get a bobblehead of Kevin made.
Oh, Lord.
That way you can put Kevin on your dashboard. And believe me, having Kevin on your dashboard is a lot more holy than having a bobblehead Jesus on your dashboard.
I don't know about that now.
Dang, somebody run off in a ditch right there.
Uh-oh.
Oh, be careful. No more wrecks, Kelsey. No more hospital visits.
No, gosh.
I cannot handle another person having a wreck, dying, or getting sick.
Why not?
Because I'm tired. Maybe next week we can get Teresa on. She's in her jammies tonight, even though I am too.
She's making excuses. What?
She says she's in her jammies. I'm like, so am I. But can you tell?
Did you tell her this was a nudist show?
I knew
Well, I'm not nude yet.
About halfway through the show, you'll see Kevin throughout the evening be sipping out of this red cup. And somewhere along the line, his shirt starts coming off.
And then cows will fly through, donkeys will fly, hell will freeze over.
You never know. You never see him from the waist down. He may not have on any pants at all.
Hey, I've got pants on. Look at this. I got some.
We can't see it. Okay. Kevin, I got scared. They were kind of tan pants.
Did you think Kevin trying to flash us? Oh my God.
All right. Well, I guess I should get on to the. Well, I guess I could advertise myself. I hadn't done that yet, and it's 7:30.
And you can advertise for me too.
Yeah, I got your Wish Doctor thing scrolling at the bottom now. WishDoctor.com.
Good man. Good man.
WishDoctor.com, the wishing machine. Get yours today. They're going all around the world. See?
Literally.
They are. And don't forget to get a prayer board.
A prayer board. See? You get that.
Sold one prayer board, yeah.
Oh.
It went out in the mail today, too.
One's gone, one's sold.
All right. And while you're at it, go to myhauntedolls.com and shop in my store. Buy some books, some ghost books and novels, and especially the newest one, My Haunted Collection, The Dark Side. I noticed some people have been buying the first My Haunted Collection and the second one together here lately on Amazon. And
well, you have to have both of them.
Yeah. And if you got Kindle, it's on Kindle Unlimited, so you can read it for free. And I still get, every time a page is read, I get something out of it.
Well, I'll go get it on Kindle, and because I've got Kindle, and I can read it too.
Yeah, all of mine are out there on Unlimited now.
Even though I think I have the first one, My Haunted Collection.
Yeah.
I probably have several books.
Well, thank you. All right. Well, I guess for those of you tuned in to hear the werewolf stories, I guess I should get on to the next one.
You should. I'm gonna close my camera out and microphone, but I'll be back.
Okay. And I'll throw up another creepy werewolf picture here. Here we go. Ooh, look at that thing. One of the ancient renditions. I like that one. It's got him with his shirt torn off, hanging. His breeches are torn. Let's see. What's the next werewolf story I got up here? This is about the grim story of the Werewolf of Chalons. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing Chalons correctly. But the year was 1598, and the town of Chalons in the Champagne region of France began to fall under the spell of fear when children began to go missing at an unusual rate. At first, it seemed as if these children were just vanishing off the face of the earth, but the disappearances were cast in a grim new light when there were scattered reports of a bestial creature, half animal and half man, prowling the surrounding wilderness. Considering that this was an era in which myths, witches, and monsters were very much considered a real threat, it was not long at all before rumors spread that the town was being besieged by a loup-garou, which is Spanish for werewolf. And so began the tale of the demon tailor of Chalons. As the children continued to go missing and sightings of the beast in the woods increased, there was a mass hysteria brewing as people began to lock themselves in their houses under the moonlight to cower in fear of what lay beyond their doors. This was only propelled further into the macabre when there began to emerge accounts of seeing the Wolf Man out in the woods, devouring the corpses of children like a ravenous animal. And there were even reports from children returning alive to say they had been chased by the snarling werewolf. This all spurred hunting parties of armed men to go out combing the dark wilderness for the sinister culprit, without success. For a while, it seemed that they were at the mercy of whatever supernatural force had decided to descend upon their once quiet and serene village. But then there would be some dark new developments. There began to be suspicions cast upon the modest shop of a tailor on the outskirts of town, with rumors that there had been cries heard near the premises, mixed with the fact that the tailor himself was a rather eccentric individual who was rarely seen and had been accused of having an intense interest in the children who passed his store. And for anybody that hasn't heard the term tailor before, that's just people who work on clothes. They sew torn clothing for people or make clothes. So when reports began to emerge of the tailor speeding off into the woods at all hours of the night, there was a posse gathered to go search his premises. And what they would find within those walls was the stuff of nightmares. Beyond the innocent appearance of the shop front was supposedly found a horror show of grotesqueries. In one room was found an array of barrels stashed into a corner, which when opened were found to contain the bones of countless children. In another room, it was found to be more like a butcher shop than a tailor's, with cuts of meat lying out gathering flies, many of them already half-eaten, and which proved to be from human beings. The yard was dotted with shallow graves. Blood and gore was found everywhere, and it seemed like this was the horrific, ghastly lair of a true monster. Yet the tailor himself remained calm and denied that he had done anything wrong at all. The law had other ideas. The man was kept imprisoned and tortured for a confession to his crime, or tortured for a confession for his crime, with him finally admitting to killing around 50 children, luring them into his shop to slice their throats, and then powder and dress their bodies before butchering them and eating them. Oddly, despite him admitting to all of this, he supposedly vehemently denied being a werewolf and brushed off the accusations that he had been transforming into a beast at night to kill children in the forest and ravage their bodies. Nevertheless, there were stories of the man flying into great rages in custody, during which he would froth at the mouth and display feats of superhuman strength, which only strengthened the resolve that he was indeed a werewolf. According to the lore of the case, when the tailor of Chalons was brought to trial, there were witnesses who claimed to have seen him actually transform into a wolf, and despite his denials of these charges, the tailor was quickly found guilty and sentenced to being burned alive. When it came to be his turn, he then allegedly flew into a blasphemous rant and was overcome by another of his animalistic episodes before the sentence was carried out and he was no more, after which the disappearances of children promptly stopped. Apparently, the court then had all the court records destroyed in order to try and sort of erase the whole event from history, leaving only bits and pieces to survive to this day. Indeed, we don't even know what this villain's name was or what spurred him to carry out these crimes. We also don't know what connection, if any, his case had with the numerous werewolf sightings at the time. And so the tale of the Tailor of Chalons, or the Werewolf of Chalons, remains merely a macabre, historical oddity shrouded in mystery. That is one heck of a creepy story right there.
Yep, the creepy.
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 I had another picture in here I thought that went with this story. You can't see me? Yeah. I still got that picture, but I guess I don't. Yeah, I'm about to take that picture back off. There we go. Now then.
I didn't say
so was. So what do we think? Was this guy just crazy, a psychopath, or was he suffering from lycanthropy, the belief he was a wolf, or was he really a werewolf?
Was he really hairy?
It doesn't say in the story, it doesn't describe him because they destroyed the records afterwards conveniently to try to remove him from history. But he still stayed around.
Well, you never know. I'm not one to judge whether he's whether he is or isn't. Don't know him, so. Hold on.
Yeah, there's no way to judge him now.
Kelsey's eyes are glowing.
He froze and his eyes are glowing. He's changing into a werewolf.
He may be one for real.
Oh, I can't do it now. My throat's getting.
Well, going from 80 to 50 in a day's time is kind of killing us all, I believe.
Yeah. I thought it was going to hit 80 over here yesterday. It got to 76 or something like that. And
You're muted, Kelsey.
Yeah, he's muted and it's kind of freezing.
Yeah, he's in and out. He's in Columbia, so.
That happens when you're driving. You hit those stupid dead spots and it messes you up. And
yeah. Unmute you, Kelsey, if you can hear us.
Oh, yeah, let's see. I can probably get him. Oh, well, he signed out. I was about to unmute him, but maybe he'll come back in a little bit. I could move on to the next story for now if you want me to.
Sure.
That's how we
go for it.
There.
All right, I'll be back.
Okay.
You can throw another picture up there, block my dark screen. I'm doing work in between all this.
Yeah. All right. Let's see the next story here. What we got here? We have the Werewolf of Ansbach. Here's another one that's kind of hard to pronounce, so I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right or not. I'll go ahead and throw up another nice, creepy, ancient werewolf photo here while we talk. That's a good one there. I'm not sure how old that etching is, but I've seen that in a lot of books I've read on werewolves and lycanthropy. The Werewolf of Ansbach. It is estimated that over the course of only 300 years, from the 14th to the 17th century, up to 100,000 people were executed in Europe on the charge of being werewolves. France and Germany especially, found themselves under attack by these supernatural creatures. And in both countries, the lycanthropy epidemics, as they were called, caused a real collective fear. The werewolf would sometimes be the victim of a curse, but more often he was seen as a worshiper of Satan, like in that first story I told this evening with Peter Stubb. Since turning into a wolf was considered the result of magical arts, lycanthropy trials fell into the wider phenomenon of witch hunt. Among historical accounts of werewolves, there is one in particular that is absolutely noteworthy. In 1685, the Principality of Ansbach included the surroundings of the Bavarian town of the same name. Here, a wolf began attacking livestock. The threat suddenly became more serious when the animal killed several children within a few months. The idea immediately spread that this was no normal wolf, but rather a werewolf, on whose identity there was little doubt. The detested Michael Lynch Bergen master of Ansbach, a figure halfway between a mayor and a ruler, had recently died after subjecting the town to its cruel and fraudulent yoke for many years. It was rumored that this much-hated public officer had actually managed to escape death by transferring his spirit into the body of a wolf. Some swore they saw him attend his own funeral. A contemporary flyer shows Michael Lick, who, in the form of a wolf wrapped in a white linen shroud, returns to his old apartment, scaring the new tenants. Thus, hunting the fierce wolf became an imperative, not only in order to protect children from further carnage, but to free the city from the spirit of the Bergen master still haunting those places, and to avenge years of harassment. Man, this must have been one evil dude. The hunters prepared a wolf scrub. This wolf pit, as it were, consisted of a hole with stone walls about 3 or 4 meters deep, covered with branches and straw, and it was used to wrap wild animals. Pieces of raw meat were placed at the bottom of the well, and often a live bait was used: a sheep, a pig, or a goose. The wolf, smelling the prey, would wander around the scrubs until it fell into the trapping pit. In this case, the bait was a rooster. The wolf fell into the hole and was killed by hunters. But what happened next is the really interesting part. The carcass of the animal was paraded through the streets to show the danger was over. The men had prevailed over the beast. But since this was no ordinary wolf, a more grotesque spectacle was staged. After skinning the animal, the men served its muzzle and placed on its head a cardboard mask with Lynch's features. That's the Bergen master. They dressed it with a wig and a cloak and hanged the wolf by a gibbet erected on a nearby hill so that it was clearly visible. A poem from the time reads, "I, wolf, was a grim beast and devourer of many children, which I far preferred to fat sheep and steers. A rooster killed me, oh well, it was my death. I now hang from the gallows for the ridicule of all people. As a spirit and a wolf, I bothered men. How appropriate now that people say, 'Ah, you damned spirit who entered the wolf, you now swing from the gallows disguised as a man. This is your fair compensation, the gift you have earned. This you deserve, a gibbet is your grave. Take this reward because you have devoured the sons of men like a fierce and ferocious beast, a real child eater.'" The punishment reserved for this demonic beast is subtler than it might seem because it actually serves a double symbolic purpose. On the one hand, depriving the wolf of his fur and replacing it with human clothes meant showing Satan himself that his tricks did not work. The townspeople of Ansbach were able to recognize the man concealing under the fur. This was therefore a warning addressed to the devil himself. This how your evil servants end up around here. And it had a clear patriotic intent. On the other hand, there was an undeniable political aspect. This was a by proxy execution of the former ruler. The commoners who had failed to overthrow their oppressor while he was alive did so post-mortem. One may wonder, was this a warning to the new Bergen master so that he would keep in line? Or was the new ruler himself behind this staging? Such a striking public show could be a good way for him to earn his subjects' trust, a way of distancing himself from the tyranny of his predecessor. In any case, the political message was clear, even for those who did not believe in werewolves. This act was meant to mark the end of a dark era. As this episode demonstrates, we would be wrong to see lycanthropy trials as simple and blind mass hysteria fueled by superstition. Even though they were a product of fear in times of great epidemics, as well as economic, political, and social instability, werewolf trials sometimes involved stratified levels of meaning which were far from being unintentional. While courts condemned hundreds of people to be burned at the stake, intellectuals debated how it was possible for a man to turn into a wolf. And they were surprisingly quite aware that the problem lied in telling the legend from the truth. But what exactly was this truth? What was going on during a lycanthropy episode? Can we, in all rationality, wonders, Beauvois, believe that a man has the magical of changing his physical form? And then there was a more delicate question of theological nature. How could Satan transform what God had created, replacing the Almighty in a sort of second creation? Crediting the devil with such high power was inadmissible, since only God could turn water into wine, Lot's wife into salt, or Moses' rod into a snake. In his treatise, Beauvois devises an extremely ingenious solution, a true marvel of balance to get himself out of the impasse. Since endorsing the possibility of an actual man-to-wolf transformation would lead him dangerously close to blasphemous, or at least heretical positions, he opts for a double demonic illusion. The first illusion affects the werewolves themselves. And I'm not going to read this inscription here, but basically it means, thus the werewolf is nothing but a man who has lost his way and got tricked by the devil. His body is not covered in fur. His nails do not turn into claws, nor his teeth into fangs. Everything just happens in his mind. An extraordinary idea, if you think that something close to psychiatry will only appear 2 centuries later. Then by administering ointments, eye drops, creams, and powders to these slaves, the devil is able to create hallucinations even in those who have the misfortune of meeting the werewolf, such as the smell and the air so infected by this filth that they not only affect his patient, but they are so powerful as to act on the external senses of the audience, taking possession of their eyes. Disturbed by this poison, they are persuaded that these transformations are real. So on a more superficial level, the werewolf represents the danger of abandoning oneself to bestial instincts, of losing one's own humanity. It is a moral figure meant to illustrate what happens when man turns away from the divine light, and it signifies a recession to barbarism, the loss of the logos. But the most frightening and upsetting fact is that a werewolf confuses and overturns the common categories of meaning. According to Beauvois, I'm not sure who this guy is, but apparently he's some kind of scholar from way back when. As we have seen, its condition is both supernatural, Satan is behind it all, and natural, no actual metamorphosis is taking place. Similarly, Ansbach, his version of wolf, is deprived of its real skin, which is seen as a fake, and is made to wear a mock human face, recognized as its authentic nature. The werewolf's destabilizing power lies in the dimension of epistemological mystery. The werewolf is like a magic trick, an illusion, both true and false. So that's a lot of educated stuff there at the end of that article. So I'm sorry if I bored you at all. But I'm seeing connections here. Oh, look, we got Kelsey there. I'm seeing connections here in these stories. Witchcraft, mobs hunting down the accused, burning them at the stake. Sounds like Salem to me.
Well, here's the thing I've got from the last story you just shared.
Yeah.
Didn't you say that only God could turn water into wine?
Yeah, they were, I guess, that scholar's idea, whoever this guy was that were quoting.
Well, I just want you to put the word out that I like wine, and there's a lot of water out here right now. So
I prefer wine over water. Campaign expensive.
Yeah, on the Christian note there, see, us true Christians, we like wine now. I have a sip or two every now and then. See, they say it's okay, just don't get drunk.
What do you say?
You want to enjoy it.
What do you say? That he drinks a bottle or two every now and then?
A bottle or two every now and then.
I prefer champagne over wine, but not the cheap stuff.
She likes the bubbly.
Not the cheap stuff. Gotta be, the very expensive stuff.
Well, for all those that are interested, I'm now entering the big city of Montgomery, Alabama.
Oh, the capital of Alabama.
They used to call it Monkey Town.
Explain that, because that could sound something horrible. Explain that to people.
But they were calling the politicians monkeys.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, I used to tell people I have no idea where in the world do they ever get the idea that we came from monkeys. I just can't figure that out at all.
They never said,
I don't know.
you don't understand evolution. We did not come from monkeys. Evolution does not teach we came from monkeys. It doesn't.
It doesn't. Well, that's what my biology teacher said.
They say that we are cousins to the apes.
We're cousins. Okay. And I've heard some say we came flopping out of the water and grew sprouted arms and legs.
Kevin, I hate to break it to you, but me and you are blood brothers.
I know. We all come from the same parents way back in 90,000 BC, whatever it was. 1 million BC.
Now, Catherine, I don't know. I think she was seeded from another race on another planet.
Look at him. Oh, she's not denying it.
That is not horns on her head. That's an antenna.
Don't give my secrets away.
An antenna.
Uh-oh. I dropped it.
What'd you drop? You dropped your what?
I dropped it.
What did you drop? Because what it sounded like you
My
said.
reading glasses fell out of my
Oh. Well, you got glasses on your head. How many glasses you got?
These are reading glasses.
Oh.
The ones I have on my head are to drive with.
He can't see either.
Kevin.
Yes, I'm
I'm
here.
old, Kevin.
You're old. Well, I got glasses on too, but this is reading and computer though.
Mine are to see distance. I need reading, but I'm not wearing bifocals. I'm too young.
Yeah, I have distance glasses too.
So do you have any chupacabra stories?
Chupacabra. Chupacabra.
Are you strictly saying werewolf?
Well, I got several werewolf stories pulled up. I haven't pulled any up on Chupacabra Baba Baba.
He told me that he had over 2 hours worth of werewolf stories.
Yeah, I've still got some more lined up here.
Somebody told me you guys were hilarious.
What?
Somebody told me you were hilarious.
Who?
My girl?
Who told you that who was hilarious?
Teresa told me that you guys were hilarious. I'll get it out in a minute.
We're serious. We do not cut up. We mean everything we say.
I can't take them anywhere.
You never do.
There's this thing called COVID out there.
Yeah, and my crazy sister she's going to Georgia this weekend. Her friend, I said, what? I ain't going to stay in no hotel right now till they get a little more control over this stuff.
Are you going to get a vaccine?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and get one. I feel safer that way.
When can our age group, mine and yours, Kevin?
My dad he's just now all this time, and he's 73 and two-time heart attack survivor. He's security risk. They were supposed to be the first. He's finally just now gotten his appointment. They finally called him. He's going tomorrow to get his first vaccine shot and get the second one, I guess, 6 weeks from then. But yeah, he's going tomorrow finally. So
My dad got his
Let
last
us
week.
know if he has any adverse reaction.
yeah, I will. Now my uncle, who's 78, he got his last month, and he was fine.
My dad had his done last week or week before, and he says he's doing great. But the pneumonia and flu shot about killed him.
Yeah.
He was, you know how daddies are.
See, I normally don't get a flu shot, but I'll get the vaccine. I don't want to mess with this.
Teresa said she knew had reactions. I've seen a couple of people have reactions, but the majority I've seen have been, just slight little reactions to none.
Little to none.
Little to none. I'm probably not a candidate since I am allergic to the flu shot to get it. So I probably am not going to get it.
Yeah, I hope not. Well, do y'all want me to go on to the next?
I'm ready.
Werewolf story?
Do we have to?
Now look, Lucky Charms, I'm going to go on to...
Well, you just do what you got to do. I'm just going to keep on driving my truck.
You were complaining. You said, I thought he had 2 hours of story. Well, let's see, we got another hour left, a little under an hour. Oh, I guess I should do our plug here.
I'm here now.
Okay, you do a plug.
Everybody, welcome to Abnormal Alabama. You see, the Three Stooges are here to entertain you for 2 hours every Tuesday night. Woo! If you're looking for a good book to read, you can go to datingthedead.com. And after you read that book, you'll find that you have no excuse to not have a date for Saturday night. I compiled a lot of wonderful stories about people that not only dated the dead, but married bridges. And one lady had sex with Bigfoot. And she swears that Bigfoot, that his foot is not the only thing that's big. Use your imagination.
Yeah, see, you don't even have to go online. See, this puts that little guy on eHarmony to shame here. No, they don't have to pay $60 a month. Just go out and find a bridge, Bigfoot.
They did say it's the size of your hands that matter.
A lot of good history in the book, but not only that, the best thing that's happening in 2021 is I am the wish doctor, not the witch doctor. And you'll see scrolling along the bottom of the screen here, thanks to my good buddy bobblehead Kevin.
Why does he get a bobblehead and I don't?
I'm looking at these 3 pictures. I think we all need 3 bobbleheads.
3 bobbleheads.
Me smiling.
Join our fan club and get a free book and a free bobblehead.
See, mine needs to be holding a little doll in one hand with the head.
In 100 years from now, they'll be having our bobbleheads on some kind of live stream talking about us being haunted.
We'll be on the Antique Roadshow.
So you can go there, but go to thewishdoctor.com, thewishdr.com, and make your dreams come true by the Wish Doctor. I am the Wish Guru. And then Mr. Bobblehead on the other side of the screen, there's Mr. Dr. Saint Kevin Kane. He is a saint. Okay, just ignore the 666 and the horns. There is a saint. He's the magic number 13. He wrote 13 books and he stopped writing. Go figure.
Kevin, you got made a saint. And you're also getting a bobblehead after you. I'm getting a little jealous here.
Catherine.
What?
We've been way too nice to Kevin. His head gets bigger every week.
You're killing me.
No, we wouldn't kill you.
If you did, I'd just come
We
back
might-
and haunt you.
We might make you wish you were dead, but we're not going to let you get by.
I'll just come back and haunt you guys.
If we've
That's my
got to stay
plan.
on this side and suffer, you're going to stay with us.
Quick funny story. One time at a convention here in Birmingham, some years ago, this woman was there with her daughter, her teenage daughter. You know how teenage daughters are, and they were arguing and just back and forth. And not bad, but just a funny back and forth banter. Finally, the mom looked over at me with my doll sitting there. She said, "If I kill my daughter, can you put her ghost inside a doll?"
Oh Lord.
Now, everybody, I want you to listen. We share these stories, but we're all nice people. We wouldn't hurt a flea, would we, Kevin?
Nope. What was
I
that?
love you're nice.
That
I wouldn't have that evil. I would have that evil
Evil.
reputation.
But the only thing that I warn people about is don't ever accept an invitation from Kevin to come over to his estate and have barbecue.
With some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
I thought it was pretty good, Kevin.
Yeah, she liked it. Of course, all I had was pizza that day, but
But everybody go to myhauntedDolls.com and support Mr. Saint Kevin Kane.
well, thank you.
Look, donate $5 or $10 or $15 or $20 so we can get the bobbleheads going of Kevin.
It's a phenomenon.
Head bobbling on your lap.
Phenomenon.
Phenomenon. You said it earlier, and I wasn't on to repeat it.
I ignored him.
Well, all right. What's our next story, guys?
All right, the next story is the sad story of Hans the werewolf. Let me throw up a good creepy werewolf picture here. We go. I haven't shown that one yet. That's one of the old medieval drawings of the werewolf. All right. Among the famous werewolf trials in Estonia, there was one story in particular about a man who spent his life feeling as most werewolves do, I imagine, lonely and out of place in his own skin. The man came to be known as Hans the werewolf, and he was an Estonian who was tried and found guilty at the Estonian werewolf trials. In the trials in 1651, when Hans was only 18 years old, it was then that he was brought forth before the court on the grounds of being a werewolf. Hans' trial did not last very long. He confessed immediately that he had been hunting in werewolf form for the past 2 years. Hans also told about how he had been doing so ever since being bitten 2 years before by a man dressed all in a black suit, and he found out that the man was a werewolf. The judge asked him whether he felt more like a man or animal, and Hans replied that he felt like a wild beast. The judge also asked Hans whether he felt more like man or animal while he was in the midst of a transformation, and Hans replied that he felt like a wild beast. The judge then asked whether he felt as though it was just his soul that had transformed, or whether a complete physical transformation took place as well. Hans replied that he still had the scar where a dog bit him while he was in wolf form, indicating that it was a full physical change and not just a metaphysical one on Hans' part. The court ruled Hans guilty of being a werewolf for a number of reasons. The first was that because an actual physical change took place, Hans had actually had magic performed on him, which was considered to be satanic. The courts also thought that the man dressed in black that Hans had described could only have been Satan performing the black magic. Because of these things, Hans was declared to be a werewolf, and like so many other werewolves at the time, was sentenced to death. It's a sad story, your life ending at the age of 18, whether you're a werewolf or not. But you've really got to wonder why Hans did not fight back just a little bit more. Stories that have come out of the werewolf trials of the 1600s. The story of Hans the werewolf, although one of the more commonly known, is just one of them. That's kind of sad there. I kind of think that man might have had mental problems.
Kevin, are any of these stories based on any legitimate happenings? I'm not saying the werewolf is real, but I'm saying the accusations were real.
Yeah, these stories here, these trials were real, kind of like the Salem witch trials. These were a lot of werewolf trials that went on in Europe in the 14 and 1500s, 1600s.
So
they really believed that these people were turned into wolves and eating. They're blaming the disappearances of children and townspeople on these wolves and everything else. Kind of like witches.
That is very fascinating. Of course, I knew of the witch trials, witch hunts, but I never knew they had trials for a werewolf.
Yeah, I remember reading about these when I was a middle school age. I would check out books. I was fascinated by werewolves, but I was more into the TV werewolf, like this one here, Lon Chaney Jr. and the Wolf Man. But
that's Lon Chaney?
Yeah, that's Lon Chaney Jr. when he did the Wolf Man back in the 40s. That was my first foray into horror films there. But there's something about it. It was just so cool watching the transformation on screen from man to wolf. And I said, "Is this real?" And when I got a little older, I started reading books about it. And I found out, hey, there really are legends. It's not just a Hollywood Babylonian story. They derived this from real legends mainly in Europe. There's some here in America, especially in Louisiana. Down in Louisiana, they still believe in the loup-garou, they call it. That's is it French or Spanish? I think it's French for werewolf. I said Spanish earlier, but I was wrong. It's French.
Cajun.
Cajun, yeah. Cajun French. Les bon temps Roland.
And Creolic.
Creolic, yeah. And they call it that. Those swamps in Louisiana, they got Bigfoot, skunk ape, werewolves, vampire. They got everything down there.
Alligators.
Did you see the post I shared about the skunk ape museum in Florida?
I think I did. I think it's one of the ones I put a like on. I saw a couple of things. I think I did see that one. Because I remember the picture of the museum was on there, wasn't it, on the outside?
You guys seem to be hearing me okay, but it's pouring down and raining so hard I cannot hardly hear you guys.
Shall we talk?
Hello?
Be careful.
Should we talk louder?
Here, let me take my hands off the steering wheel so I can hear what you're saying.
We're gonna have to get him a funnel.
Yeah.
Old horns and whatever it was back in the cartoon.
Yeah, those ear horns they had.
God, I got to tell you what happened today. So I'm walking from the living room to the kitchen, and I glanced down. Y'all, there's a spider. It's really about that big.
Ugh.
And I'm not scared of spiders, but it caught me off guard. So I'm trying to find the broom so I can sweep it up and, let it loose outside. So I'm sweeping up the spider and I think, okay, it's dead. No, it's a darn plastic ring. Spider. But just the way it was, and I guess the way I stepped on the floor and it moved, kind of scared me just a little bit.
I've got an update.
Uh-oh.
The dog came back home.
Yay!
I don't know where he was, but he was all muddy and wet.
Well, I guess he'll be bathing a dog tonight.
Maybe he turned into his
Peace.
werewolf form and
Peace,
went
he came
off.
back home.
I know, thank goodness. And we don't have to listen to that, you know.
Maybe he turned into a werewolf and went out in the woods hunting. And I think Kelsey froze again, didn't he? I think he froze again.
A frozen Kelsey.
A frozen Kelsey.
Maybe we need to thaw him out.
Oh, he's gone again.
I'm sure he'll be back.
Well, I got a.
You got another story for us?
Yeah, I got one closer to home that the people will be interested in. This is from Georgia, an old werewolf tale. Do you know there was a werewolf story in Georgia?
I did not. I'm going to let you go do that, and I'm going to listen.
Okay.
And I'm gonna give me some more drink while I'm listening.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do this Georgia werewolf story here. I'll throw up this. I like this old transformation picture they've got here. I guess it's like wolves and werewolves there. This is from Talbotton, Georgia. This small town with less than 1,000 residents today was even smaller back in the 1800s when it was reported that a werewolf was terrorizing the area. Townspeople within Talbotton began reporting that a werewolf was killing off their livestock throughout the county. So many animals were slaughtered that a $200 reward was set up for anyone who could kill the werewolf. While it may seem unlikely like much today, $200 back then was the equivalent of over $5,500 back in 1840, which was nothing to laugh at. And while many residents of the area were set on catching and killing this wild beast, one suspect emerged that was highly unusual. A peculiar young girl named Emily Isabella Burt caught the eye of many townspeople over some unusual coincidences. Burt came back from boarding school in Europe, and family and friends immediately noticed something was not quite right with the young girl. She looked sickly, complained of never-ending insomnia, and would stare off completely detached from the rest of the town. Even Bert's mother caught Burt slipping off into the forest at all hours of the night, and when confronted, Burt simply could not recall where she had went. This easily became the talk of the town, but even more so when Burt began to grow hair in odd places and her teeth began to look more pointed. One of the more well-known coincidences that people took notice of involved the fact that the livestock remained unharmed when she would leave town. To make matters worse for Burt, one hunter claimed he shot the werewolf on his property, but the werewolf scurried off before he could finish the job. The next day, Emily Isabella Burt had a wound in the very same spot as the werewolf. Farmers arranged a hunting party one evening and came across a frightening sight in the distance. A creature as big as a man walking on two legs with a snout that appeared to be inhuman. Although nothing ever came to fruition involving the true identity of the creature in Talbotton, Georgia, this is a hotly debated topic in the area for those who had grandparents who grew up in town. However, it is rumored that if you go out into the countryside at night during a full moon, you might be able to catch a glimpse of the spirit of Emily Isabella Burt and hear the howls of wolves in the distance. After all, she is still buried in town, and her tombstone can still be seen today. So that's from right next door to us here in Alabama. That was from Georgia. Never heard the Georgia werewolf story before. And a
I have
girl
a question for you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Teresa wants to know, female werewolves.
Huh?
Female werewolves.
What kind of werewolves?
Females.
Female.
Women.
Oh, women. I couldn't hear the female part. Yeah, that's what it was. She was a female werewolf.
You got to call it by the right name. You say
Oh.
a female werewolf,
Uh-huh.
it's called a bitch wolf.
Oh! You made me knock my computer out.
It's called a bitch wolf.
Yeah, 'cause you weren't here for me to kick.
I tell you, that's a bitch in heat, ain't it?
You see what I have to deal with, folks. That made me
Man.
kill my computer.
I like that. It's not only is it a southern werewolf, but it's a female werewolf. The werewolf of
It's called a bitch wolf.
Habitual.
Taubaton, Georgia, and I haven't really heard of that town. It's somewhere on the east or on the western side of Georgia, so it's closer to here.
So were female werewolves common?
Oh, I
We
would.
need to put a warning at the introduction of our show every Tuesday that we are totally politically incorrect.
Yeah, I mean, werewolfism, lycanthropy, it's not a gender thing. It can, women. And I've read stories about. I've heard of the she-wolf of London. You know, Europe had all kinds of werewolf stories, like I've read tonight. But yeah, and
What we do, chase her away?
she went all black. Look at that little.
She's a white round thing in the middle.
She looks like an 8-ball now. Black with a little white.
Look how you talk about me when I have to go and plug my computer back in because I about knocked it on the floor.
Did you fall over?
No, I was just sitting here and all of a sudden my computer just gets slammed almost off into the floor.
You mean your computer attacked you?
And it was going away from me. The ghost was pushing it away. Go away, ghost.
I
Not
thought,
in the mood tonight.
Strange things happen in abnormal Alabama.
yeah, I thought she was reacting to the bitch wolf thing.
I thought she had a demon attack.
Yeah,
Teresa said that's a cyber crime.
cybercrime.
Oh Lord.
Good Lord, Gaylord.
It was a strange phenomenon. I don't know. I was just sitting here, seriously, literally sitting here, and the computer just goes. There's nobody else in this room. Nothing. I had to call Bug in here because I couldn't reach the cord to. It was sitting in my lap, but I don't know. Y'all saw it,
Yeah.
but I about lost my computer.
Well, have y'all heard of the Beast of Bray Road before in Wisconsin?
I'm driving along on the interstate here, okay? And there's this white lines in the middle of the road.
Uh-huh.
Every time I look up, sometimes the white lines are to my left, sometimes they're right in the center of my car, and sometimes they're on the right. What's happening?
He's all over the place. He's turned some of that rain into wine. He's been drinking it. That's when he goes off screen and everything.
Did you have some champagne and not share, sir? I got my glass over here, and it's ready, and it's empty. You should not be drinking and driving without me.
Well, have y'all heard of the Beast of Bray Road in Wisconsin?
I have not.
You have not heard? Oh, there's even been movies made about it.
I may have seen them and don't remember them. You got to remember, so that my brain doesn't work from.
Yeah. Well, I got this here cool, creepy, freaky picture of the Bray Road Beast with a deer it's about to tear into, and there's Kelsey's headlights in the background there.
Yes. A family resemblance.
Well, I got the story right here with some facts about this. It says, since the early days, the country people have been reporting sightings of the Beast of Bray Road in and around Elkhorn, Wisconsin. People have seen the beast as far away as Illinois. The Beast of Bray Road is a Bigfoot-like cryptid. It stands on two legs and can resemble a bear, or in some cases a wolf. It is very large, intelligent, and brown-gray in color. Now, Bray Road is a county road or country road in Elkhorn, Wisconsin, where the beast was first seen. The local reporter in those parts, Linda Godfrey, who first covered the story, was so convinced of the eyewitness accounts that she wrote the book The Beast of Bray Road, Tailing Wisconsin's Werewolf. She believes the beast is real, but has never had a first-hand experience with it. Many locals consider the beast to be a werewolf. Some cryptozoologists consider it only another series of Bigfoot sightings. Eyewitness accounts date back to the formation of the state, but most sightings of the Beast of Bray Road occurred between 1989 to 1991. But here is one woman's first-hand account, or here's some first-hand accounts. This one, I think, is from the late 90s. It says here, I lived in the town of Franklin, Wisconsin. This was about 1997 to 98. We had just moved into a brand new subdivision and were currently the only house that was built. The rest of the area for a long distance was empty lots on what used to be the adjoining farm's old land. Our backyard had a running creek, and on the other side of the creek was some brush and a single-lane road with an old wooden street light that gave off an orange hue about 30 yards or so away. It was a warm summer night, and I was having a sleepover with one of my friends. We had all the lights off and were playing hide and seek in the dark. I went back into our sunroom and saw something crouched over illuminated through the brush and the orange streetlight. I'm not sure how to describe its body posture. You know how when you're about to throw up and you hunch over on your knees and palms? It was similar to that. Its breaths were so deep and heavy that you could see its chest heaving from that distance. We had a 140-pound Akita who stood 6 feet on his hind legs. I could easily tell that whatever this was dwarfed my Akita. I also know that it wasn't any type of dog or wolf. Its hind legs were thick and muscular like a man's, but its body tapered at the abdomen and head like a wolf or canine. I called out to my friend who came over and just said, "What the crap is that?" to me, trying not to make much noise. We sat there as it was hunched over for a good 30 minutes. My dad, who was a hard-ass Vietnam vet, came out to see what the hell we were doing up so late. We asked what it was, and he just said, "I don't know." He then went outside as we stayed in, scared for my dad. He had one of those old megalights that had the power of 1,000 candles and took it with him. He stood in the driveway and shined it onto whatever we were watching. It looked back at us, and I honestly don't remember its eye color. What I do remember is that when it took off into the brush, it took off upright, like a sprinter from the on all four stance. My dad heard it splash through the creek and hightailed it in. It was one of those crazy moments you don't really talk about because people will think you are crazy. When I heard about it so many years later, I immediately knew I'd seen the Beast of Bray Road too. And then we have a second firsthand account. This took place all the way in Cleburne, Texas in October of 2016 at around 1 a.m. Me and my girlfriend were sitting outside on my dad's porch smoking a cigarette. It was dark, so it was pretty hard to see. I also want to make note that my dad lived on about 300 acres of vacant land, and he did, for a fact, have many wild animals that roamed at night, as well as cattle. So we were pretty used to seeing wild hogs, coyotes, raccoons, and even wild turkey approach the house once the sun went down. This didn't seem like any of those things. There were no street lights, and the closest neighbor was about 2 football fields away. We noticed something creeping through the grass about 30 feet away from the porch. The movement reminded us of a coyote, but this, whatever it was only about 1.5 feet tall and anywhere from 7 to 10 feet long. Its body was pressed almost completely against the ground, and its head turned toward us, almost as if it was stalking us as prey. We were pretty freaked out when we noticed, so we grabbed our cigarettes and shoes, but that's when things got even freakier. This thing had been crawling towards a medium-sized stance, and as it passed behind the tree, it did not reappear on the other side. Could it have climbed the tree? Or perhaps stood upright behind the tree, hiding, watching? I did not stay around to find out. All I know is the footsteps stopped, so it wasn't running away out of view. My girlfriend suggested we get a flashlight and try to scare it off, to which I responded, "Are you crazy? Get inside now." After searching Wikipedia, I thought it might have been the Beast of Bray Road or maybe a werewolf. Here's another one. I've spent some time on Bray Road. A good friend of mine has too. You hear things in the woods, maybe see shadows in the fields, but I've never had a true sighting of anything. Just a creepy being watched feeling. But that could simply be nerves, as you're hoping for something to happen. My friend has experienced quite a bit, and has some impressive EVPs from different areas. I had something on 2 legs run out in front of me on the north side of Madison Middleton in Wisconsin, but it happened so fast it's hard to say what it was or could have been. Maybe a deer or wolf or coyote lunging, but it seemed pretty big. Skeptics believe the Beast of Bray Road is actually a wild dog, and eyewitness accounts are skewed by mass hysteria. But the legend of the Bray Road werewolf still exists today. So if you're in Wisconsin and come across Bray Road at night and you see a pair of creepy eyes in your headlights, watch out.
Teresa said that's not but about an hour from her.
Oh, that's cool. And I know they've got a couple of movies out there on Amazon. In fact, one of them's called The Beast of Bray Road, one of those Sci-Fi Channel movies. I've never seen it. But, yeah, that's been around a long time. Now, should I go on to the next werewolf story?
Read us a story, Kevin.
All right. Well, here's one. Here's another one. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pronounce it right, but I think the werewolf in this story is named Gavada. Here's a illustration here.
What is that?
It's a werewolf, supposedly, or at least the way they described it back then. Here it is.
You don't believe in evolution, huh?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I've always believed in creation. But who knows how that translates, you know? All right, let's see. Between 1764 and 1767, a mysterious creature called the Beast ravaged the rural region of Gavaudan, France. Oh, here we are back in France again. About 100 men, women, and children reportedly fell victim to La Bête de Gavaudan. I hope I said that right. While many French at the time presumed the beast to be a wolf, and many modern scholars agree, some have suggested that the beast may not have been a wolf at all. It was like a wolf, yet not a wolf. The first recorded fatal attack of the beast occurred on June 30th, 1764, when a 14-year-old shepherdess, Jean Belay, tended a flock of sheep. Belay was not the creature's first victim. As historian J. Smith writes in Monsters of Gavaudan, about 2 months prior to this, a young woman tending cattle was attacked by a creature like a wolf, yet not a wolf, but escaped because the herd defended her. The attacks continued through the summer and into autumn, according to George Ebert's 2002 book, Mysterious Creatures. France was in a slump at the time on the heels of the 7 Years' War. The nation had lost battles to Prussia, and the British and Louis XV had lost overseas colonies. The beast offered a perfect foil to rally around, and there was no dearth of reports in the press about encounters with the animal. The ferocious beast attacked and partially ate women and the young, according to the reports. But lone adult men were also targets. There were so many attacks that some speculated there were, in fact, 2 or more beasts carrying out the deeds. The terrified populace of Gabaudan did not sit idle, and individual stories of bravery captivated the public. As Smith writes, bounties were offered and hunters combed the countryside looking for the creature. On October 8, 1764, hours after a mauling, the beast was seen at Chateau de la Baume, stalking a herdsman. Hunters followed the animal onto the estate's woods and flushed the animal into the open. The hunter shot a volley of musket fire into the creature, but after a fall, the beast simply rose and ran off. King Louis XV dispatches hunters. Even children were celebrated for taking on the beast. On January 12, 1765, the beast attacked 10-year-old Jacques Porteval and a group of 7 friends ranging from 8 to 12. However, Porteval led a counterattack with sticks, driving off the creature. The children were rewarded by Louis XV, and Porteval was given an education paid by the crown. Ooh. The children's heroics prompted the court of King Louis XV to send royal hunters to destroy the beast. There was now a 6,000 livre bounty on the creature's head. The story of the beast, meanwhile, was spreading and covered in newspapers from Boston to Brussels, becoming one of history's first media sensations. Among the most notable tales of bravery was when 19 or 20-year-old Marie-Jeanne Belay was attacked by the beast on August 11, 1765, while crossing the river Deges with her sister. Armed with a bayonet affixed to a pole, Belay impaled the beast's chest. The creature got away, but Belay became known as the Amazon and the Maid of Gabaudan. On September 20th, 1765, Francoise Antoine, the king's 71-year-old gun bearer, and his nephew shot a large wolf near an abbey at Chazay, which was assumed to be the beast. Antoine was awarded with money and titles, and the corpse of the animal was stuffed and sent to the royal court. But attacks started again in December, according to an account in the 1898 volume of the Parisian Illustrated Review. This time the beast seemed different, at least behaviorally. Where before the creature had been afraid of cattle, this time it showed no fear. Was this a second beast? The royal court chose to ignore these new attacks, insisting that Antoine had killed the creature. Finally, a sudden outbreak of attacks in early June 1767 compelled a local nobleman, the Marquis d'Asper, to organize a hunt. On June 19, one of the hunters, a local man named Jean Chastel, shot a wolf on the slopes of Mount Mouchet. An autopsy of the animal revealed human remains inside, and the animal had non-wolf characteristics as described by witnesses. The attacks ended, but while it was assumed that the beast Chastel bagged was the beast, doubts remained that it was indeed a wolf. The beast was consistently described by eyewitnesses as something other than a typical wolf. It was as large as a calf, or sometimes even bigger than a horse. Its coat was reddish gray with a long, strong panther-like tail. The head and legs were short-haired and the color of a deer. It had a black stripe on its back and talons on its feet. Many drawings of the beast at the time endow it with loops. Witnesses described the beast as an ambush hunter which stalked its prey and seized it by the throat. The wounds found on the bodies were typically by the head and limbs, with the remains of 16 victims reportedly decapitated. The creature prowled in the evenings and in the mornings. Historians and scientists and conspiracy theorists have all proposed theories about what the beast was. Among the suspects, a Eurasian wolf, an armored war dog, a striped hyena, a lion, some kind of prehistoric predator, a werewolf, a dog-wolf hybrid, and even a human. Of the candidates, the most fanciful is the werewolf. Smith points out that Chastel reportedly used a silver bullet to slay the wolf, thereby feeding into werewolf mythology. Also unrealistic is that the beast was an extinct prehistoric predator, such as a bear dog, a dire wolf, or hyena. The idea that such a large animal would evade detection for thousands to millions of years is just too implausible, Smith argues. Others have suggested that a human serial killer may be responsible for the attacks. Many of the beast's victims were reported to be decapitated, something few animals could do. While it is unlikely that a killer would roam about for victims in broad daylight wearing a bestial costume, those who support this theory believe that the human killer used an animal to carry out the crimes. What was the animal? Some have speculated it was an armored war dog, which explains its strange appearance and why it shrugged off musket shots. Some descriptions of the beast and the animal slain by Chastel suggest it resembled a striped hyena. It is possible that a striped hyena may have been in a person's private holding and then escaped. Since it was not native to France, it would have appeared unusual. However, striped hyenas are not known to attack humans. Karl Hans, the biologist and author of the Gevaudan tragedy, argues the beast may have been an immature male lion. Like the hyena, it is possible that a lion escaped from captivity. The beast reportedly was an ambush hunter that seized prey by the neck and could possibly decapitate a victim. A lion, Hans argues, could exhibit these predatory behaviors. Lions have been known to prey upon humans as food sources, such as the famous case of the lions of Sao, in which a lion pair killed over 130 victims in under a year. Another supporting fact is that the territory of the beast, at roughly 56 to 50 miles, aligns with a lion's typical range. Eyewitnesses in France at the time were likely not familiar with living lions, and what they did know about them came from very stylized imagery. Could it be a wolf? Among the theories considered most credible is that wolves perpetuated the attack. Gevaudan had a serious wolf infestation. Smith asserts that many of the fantastical qualities attributed to the beast were induced by clergy who stirred up a fear in the populace that God was punishing the French for its defeat in the 7 Years' War. For hunters, killing the beast was a way of reclaiming France's lost honor. Wolves are native to the region and had attacked humans before. Some statistics show that wolves attacked humans 9,000 times in France between the 17th and 19th century. In most cases, these were attacks by rabid wolves. But there are some potential flaws to the wolf theory, including the frequency of the beast deadly attacks, suggesting it was not a single rabid wolf. Also, none of its victims seemed to have contracted rabies, suggesting that their attacker also did not carry rabies. Although there are strong voices arguing multiple theories about the identity of the Beast of Gavaden, all admit that the truth will never be fully known. Without any genetic or forensic evidence, the Beast of Gavaden is bound to forever remain a mystery. I say werewolf. Werewolf, that's what it was. Werewolf. I thought that was a pretty cool story. Now, see, these, you asked earlier, Chelsea, if these were true, based on fact. That's another true story. These all have historical documentation with them. But, the skeptics at large could easily say, well, it was some kind of large wild beast. So it's always going to be doubted and skepticized, if that's even a word.
How close are you to home, Kelsey?
Huh?
How close are you to home?
I'm about, hold on, I'm about that far.
About that far.
Well, on the map, that's a long way. That's across the country.
She did that forehead palm thing.
I'm just to
A
the
little too
north.
hard. Okay, so you're not too far.
Yeah, about like that on the map.
That would be across the country.
Oh, yeah, right there. Freaking.
Men and their measurements.
Well, big fish stories.
Huh? What did you
Fish-
say?
One of those big fish stories.
Yeah, a big fish story.
I've got here's another werewolf story from France. This is the Werewolf of Dole. Man, France has a lot of werewolf legends. I had no idea.
You read across a lot of them. What's that one?
Here's one of the many illustrations from that. Oh, that's a good one of a werewolf attacking a man on the ground in the forest.
I wonder if that's one of them bitch werewolves.
I don't know. The Werewolf of Dole. It says werewolves are rampant throughout folklore, insatiable, uncontrollable beasts doomed to bear their ugly mugs and terrorize humanity, even if the human inside didn't consent to what was happening. Beliefs and stories of werewolves are common across all corners of the globe, from the Turkish Kurdidam to the Mexican Nahal. But tonight we'll be talking about one of the favorite French werewolves, Gilles Garnier. The French term for werewolf is, here we go, loup-garou. And popularity of werewolf lore, while it can be found throughout France's history, particularly surged in the 16th century. Like witches, werewolves were hunted in France and even convicted and executed based on the belief that they were werewolves. Our story begins in the 1570s outside Dole, France. Gilles Garnier lived just outside the village in relative isolation with his wife. He was a hermit and very rarely traveled into town. He mostly subsisted off the land and until the early 1570s was not seen as a threat. However, Dole soon fell to a strange set of disasters. Children were disappearing, and sometimes the missing children were found mutilated, even torn apart. Rumors began to bubble up, and when enough children went missing, it wasn't believed to be bad luck. These disastrous deaths had to come from a werewolf. In fact, sightings of a strange wolf-like creature lurking around farms were reported. Town officials raised the issue to the provincial authorities, and an order was brought down. Citizens should hunt down the werewolf responsible for this madness. A group of men formed and began to try and locate the werewolf, which was believed to operate under the cover of night. After a few nights of fruitless searching, the men came upon a hunched, strange figure on the perimeter of town, hunched over a child's body. They captured and detained the man, prepared to bring this man to justice. In addition to Giles, his wife was also arrested. The man was identified as Giles Garnier, who, as mentioned previously, seemed to pose no real threat to the town until this identification. Surprisingly, during his trial, Giles confessed. The story of how he became a werewolf might be a little different than the ones you are used to. Giles claimed that one night a demon visited him in his house and gave him a special ointment that would transform him into a wolf. Giles accepted this strange gift from a stranger being because Giles was often starving. He was growing older, and without stable employment, he found it harder and harder to provide enough food for him and his wife. However, when he applied the ointment and became a werewolf, he lost his faculties and could not control his rage and hunger. He confessed to killing 2 girls and 2 boys and eating their flesh. He even claimed he brought some of their remains home with him to feed his wife. Some claim these confessions were to stop the torture being enacted upon him. Other tellings of the tale say the man willingly confessed to his purported crimes. Giles was found guilty of both witchcraft, since he utilized magical ointment, and lycanthropy, since he had turned into a werewolf willingly. The court, hearing his confession, sentenced him to be burned at the stake. On January 18, 1573, Garnier was burned at the stake. Like so many stories of witches during the same time, Giles also lived in relative social isolation to a small town. After tragedy befell the town, perhaps unsure what to do with their grief and rage, they sought a scapegoat to enact righteous fury. Although Giles confessed, he did so under duress from the community. Or did he do it from duress from the community? Was it given due to torture? Was this confession falsified? Was he insane? Or did the devil really visit his home one fateful night and offer him that magic ointment? That's a pretty cool story. Again, it's got that connection to witchcraft and mobs hunting down somebody to blame. But, I mean, he confessed to it.
Well, I want to congratulate you tonight for locating a bunch of wonderful stories.
Well, thank you.
And I want to congratulate the 8-ball. Oh, there she is.
I'm here. I'm just
The 8-ball.
I just go out so I can do my thing.
She's behind the 8-ball. But you've almost gone for 2 hours with very little interference from me.
When Kelly's tired. Wait.
So the question, well, you got time for another short story, or we can do some shameless self-promotion.
Well, I got a quick video here on YouTube I was going to throw in. It's just a minute long that shows some kind of wolf creature.
Let's see it. Yeah.
In Racine County. I'm not sure what state this is, but I'm going to share. Let me get it pulled up here, and I'm going to share my screen. I thought that would be a good way to.
Be careful, don't hit that Pornhub.
All right, let's see.
Don't accidentally post a nude photo.
No, I'm just going to hit share screen. Share audio.
There you go.
All right, here we go. All right. Let's see. There it is. Here we go. Now look at this thing coming across here.
What in the world is that?
Let's see. Well, there it is again. It's coming out. Now this thing is weird looking. Look how tall it is. Those legs.
Excuse me. Pardon me.
It looks like a Great Pyrenees mixed with a wolf.
That's a pretty
Could
big
it be?
animal, isn't it?
Yeah. This is called a security camera in Racine County, but I'm not sure what state this is. This is in. It's here in America, in the United States.
In America?
Yeah, in America.
Wisconsin.
Oh, is it Wisconsin? Yeah, Racine. That's right, Wisconsin. Yeah, look at that thing. It's just, that's not a normal dog. Look, those legs are long.
It,
That's
That
way
was
up in there.
amazing.
Bigfoot spotted in Virginia.
Oh, well,
I never saw him in Virginia.
A Virginia man claims he spotted Bigfoot and he has the video to prove it.
Finally, somebody. We're going to let you be the judge.
Take a look. This is the YouTube video. Can you see real closely there?
I say it's a werewolf.
Shot near the Did you say that's Bigfoot like
Yeah.
you've seen him before?
Yeah.
That looks like Bigfoot.
All right. And this was shot apparently near the Intracoastal Waterway earlier this month. Randy O'Neill says he captured the images with his cell phone while he was camping with his dad. He says he saw red eyes watching them from the woods. He claims he fired a shotgun, heard something scream and go crashing through the trees. O'Neill says he and his father experienced a similar encounter some 25 years ago. You know, it's always one of these kind of mysterious things. But if I was him, I wouldn't go back in the woods again since you shot Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And he saw you 25 years ago. He's probably going to come after you again.
Yeah, Bigfoot has some brothers. Too.
Or his babies, whatever.
Yeah.
Big Mama and Bigfoot, watch out.
That's pretty good.
That's the best pictures I've seen of Bigfoot.
Yeah, or could it be a werewolf? Oh. But I like that silver wolf. That was good. Well, we got a few minutes left for plug-ins here. MyHauntedDolls.com right over here. And the Wish Doctor. Yeah, the WishDR.com. Make your dreams come true with the Wish Doctor. The Wish Doctor.
It's funny how our screens went back to you, me, Kelsey.
Yeah, it's like
We're always-
StreamYard has a mind of its own, doesn't it?
It does.
And it just went in. Yeah, here, let's see. I bet I can get it back to our little. There we go.
Oh, I like that better.
You like that better?
I like that better. I can see your faces better.
Yeah. There we go. So
Well,
my
if
$100.
anybody's interested, it's still raining.
It's still raining and no wine bottled and shipped yet.
MyHauntedDolls.com, thewhishdr.com, datingthedead.com, and wakeupcatherine.com.
No, I do have a website. It's called abnormal.photography. No telling what's on my phone.
Photography. Everything we do is abnormal. If you haven't joined us on YouTube, it's Abnormal Alabama on YouTube. You need to join us. And also, if you haven't joined our group on Facebook, it's Abnormal Alabama on Facebook. And if you want to bookmark the site, it's abnormalalabama.com. We are abnormal, and we are proud of it.
Yeah. I hope you all enjoyed my werewolf stories. There's that one picture I didn't check earlier with the wolf attacking the child.
Teresa said she loved the stories. Thank you, Teresa, for joining us this evening.
Yes, thank you so much. I had fun.
All the way from
Thank you.
Illinois.
Thank you, Teresa. I've seen you on the TikTok. I have seen her on TikTok.
Oh yeah, was she dancing on TikTok?
She's a TikToker.
She's a TikToker.
TikToking. Thank you, Kevin, for everything you do.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Catherine, for sitting in and participating in the show tonight. And I'm on my last little leg home. I'm coming up on Calera, Alabama.
Okay.
And run through and get me some sweet tea.
All
Well, message
right.
me when you get home so I know you're safe.
I'm almost home.
All right. Well, it's 9 o'clock, so it's time to say good night.
Good night, everyone.
Patrols all night long. Everybody give him a hand.
Remember to stay abnormal. 'Cause
Yes.
normal is
That
no
normal.
fun.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Peace and love. Peace and love.
Love to all.